Hello and welcome back to the Gaggle, where we are on to part 2 of our post-Trump politic discussion. I'm now joined by Peter Lavelle, my co-founder and host of Crosstalk. Welcome, Peter. Welcome to the discussion. Just before you arrived, we were talking about how to deal with the amount of polarization and mob, domestic foreign policy, what it's going to look like under a different administration, and how we can deal with this.
Well, I think the first thing you have to consider, I mean, there's always this talk, and it's been building up for years, but it's really under Trump is this pending civil war, and we can kind of loosely define what that means. I mean, I hope it's not a literal civil war, but I mean, we have these like the Benedict option, where conservatives are opting out of the cultural life of what they perceive as the left. I actually perceive it that way in many ways as well. But I think what's really missing here is that if we do have a change of administration, if we do have a Harris-Biden, Biden-Harris administration, you're going to see the left have its train wreck, and the conservatives, the right, is going to have their train wreck as well, because the reckoning is coming. Speaking as a conservative, the reckoning is coming. We need to get the libertarians out of the party, because there are many Republicans, there are many conservatives like myself that are interested in social issues. I believe government is a tool. Okay, I mean, libertarians say, cut taxes, we're done, bye, shut the government down. No, I'm like a Gaullist, you know, I want to put conservative government, and we should do it pro-family, pro-worker, okay? Yeah. That is a reckoning has been put off. Trump is a very strange vessel, because he has populist instincts, but he governs as a Reagan-Bush Republican. And that has always been the tension of the Trump administration. Look at the clowns that he surrounds himself with. When it comes to finance, when it comes to foreign policy, I mean, these people are poison. These are the same people that could work in a Biden administration. Yeah. Interchangeable. So the way I look at it is that, and I look at Bernie Sanders, is that his core ideas and his core followers are not going to go away. Now, because everything is framed about Trump, they're going to give the Democrats another pass. It's so exhausting, isn't it? It's so exhausting. No, we need a social democratic left, and we need a populist right. And then we can have a real conversation about politics. In between time, they're going to have their own internal civil wars. But politics is not coming to an end because Trump was president.
Yeah, yeah. And Helen, I also think, well, Peter, I agree that because there's no dominant political party currently, and there are fractions within both sides, and fractions that cut very deep, they're not going to be reconciled under either.
Nope.
Under either president, whoever it is come November, they are not going to be easily reconciled. How does one foster trust again within American people towards each other? Because I think now, with such intense polarization, people do not trust others with a different opinion, which is really venomous.
Well, I mean, Helen, wouldn't you agree with me is that I hate to say this because it's against my core values. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, people are not only hate other people with different opinions, but now they're afraid of everybody because of the pandemic. And so you've got multiple levels of distrust and fear and alienation there, which makes these people prey for the most predatory messages and the most predatory policies. Which is, you've got half the country that is completely checked out of the political system, because for the reasons that you articulated very accurately, in terms of both parties just completely being in it for themselves. And like last night, there was a point in the debate where Kamala Harris lied and said that she had gone after the bankers in 2008, and she didn't. She let them off the hook. But But Pence couldn't say anything about that because Steve Mnuchin, one of those bankers she let off the hook, is treasurer of his administration. So it's like you literally have got Trump's drain the swamp thing was like drain the swamp into the White House, into the Capitol. They have no credibility anymore. So I think that as far as regaining trust, I do think we need a new political party because every other one has and destroyed and institutionalized in more ways than one, and just like take the populist section of the right and the I guess progressive, I don't know if that word still means what it used to mean, but what used to be called the progressive section of the left, and put them together because we have more in common than we have in difference, and at least more in common with each other than more in common with the rank and file of the party. It's like the Democrats are literally trying to drown their progressive half like a sack of kittens in a river, and like not letting the political consultants work with candidates who are challenging incumbents. So you're just going to have these like superannuated like 90-year-old Dianne Feinsteins in office forever and defund anyone who tries to challenge them. That's insane. But
if you look at the Democratic leadership and you look at Schumer and you look at Pelosi, they have their venom for the progressives first and foremost.
Oh yeah.
First and foremost, because if Donald Trump is such a threat to humanity, why do you give him not only his defense budget but almost up to $900 billion? Okay, you're giving a madman, a fascist, this much money? No, because there's no difference on there. Okay, you know why? Because they all have the same donors. This is about donors, okay? They don't care about us, okay? But what's really important, and Helen's absolutely right, the most common political affiliation in America is non-affiliated, okay?
Yeah,
and this is what we really need. We really need a third force, and this has been said so many times in American history. But it goes back to my second answer. It's going to have to get a lot worse before it gets better, because both these parties and their donors have a death grip on the political system.
Well, I was thinking that the economic destruction that's been caused by the shutdowns would actually be that getting worse before it gets better. But people are just lying down and playing dead and letting the political class walk all over them. It's really shocking to see. I live in New York, where some of the shutdowns have hit worst. I mean, we still have restaurants closed. Like a huge amount, I think a third of bars and restaurants have closed, never to reopen. Like others are on the brink of death. And it looks like a giant asset stripping scheme from where I sit. But at any rate, like things have gotten really, really bad for a lot of people. There's like these large homeless colonies setting up in Manhattan where people just, I mean, they've got nowhere to go. They've got nothing that they can do because whatever industries they would be capable of working in are not hiring. And so you would think that this would lead people to rise up, but it's not. People are just hiding, watching television, hiding under their beds, fetishizing their masks. Like, it's really weird.
But Ciara and Helen, don't you think, I mean, look at the two conventions. I hope you didn't waste too much time on them, okay? And look at the first presidential debate with Trump and Biden, and then look what happened last night. Where was the policy in all of this? And they do this on purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. Biden is a Trojan horse for Venezuela. Most Americans don't know where Venezuela is, okay? And it's for socialism and communism. Okay, there you go with the scaremongering. Oh, and if you vote for Biden and Harris, they will protect your right to abortion. But the Judge Bennett, she won't. Okay, these are false choices. There's no reason to believe that abortion will be overturned by the Supreme Court. There's no inkling of it whatsoever, but they scaremonger everybody to do it. But Helen's right. What about the 40% of the bars and restaurants that are closed? You know why? Because our politics today don't speak to those people. That's why people are not reacting. No one's talking to me. Trump understood that during his campaign in 2016. He doesn't understand it as president.
Yeah.
Well, that's...
Sorry, Helen. Do you both think then it would be fair to say that democracy has been sustained less by public opinion than by elite consensus?
Yeah, it's not really a democracy anymore. I mean, getting back to the previous question, though, like the reason why they are maintaining these shutdowns is because they don't want people comparing notes. And I've said this many times, but if the disaffected sections of left and right got together, say in a bar or a restaurant, or just met on the street where you can't do anything anymore, they would compare notes and realize that they have so much in common. And they do not want us, because everything is mediated through social media now, and you can't, like, if you say something bad about Kamala Harris, they will immediately accuse you of being a Trump supporter. And it's like, well, actually, can't I just dislike them both? And that is not an option. It's always white and black, and not racially speaking, just like in terms of, metaphorically. But this is the way that cults operate. And if you have got a religious cult, which I really think is what we're dealing with in so many aspects of American life right now, at least, and I think other countries to some extent as well, but definitely in America, we've got these cultish, these rituals that people are going through because they're terrified. They see this collapse coming, but they don't have the words to articulate it. They don't have the words to articulate even their fears. So they rationalize it in all of these terms that are spoon-fed them by the media, which is completely complicit in all of this. But the idea that the U.S. is a democracy is a big joke. And it's like, I was on another show talking about like the TikTok ban, and somebody hit back at me saying, oh, well, China, they oppress their people and blah, blah, blah. But the Chinese people don't labor under the delusion that they are living in a democracy. At least they're not being lied to on that level. The U.S. is just lying and lying and lying, and people, they don't really know which way is up anymore. And so they're prey for all of these cult-like predators coming in and saying, oh, well, you're good if you do this and this and this, but that guy is bad because he doesn't think like you. And so people now hate their neighbors if they have a Trump sign on their lawn, or if they have a Biden sign on their lawn, or they have a Black Lives Matter sign on their lawn, or whatever they have on their lawn. It's a problem for somebody.
Yeah. I think, it was a few weeks ago that Trump actually came out with an absolute pearl of wisdom. It was like an epiphany. He wanted to say herd immunity, but he said herd mentality. And I decided, you have to have herd mentality. Okay, remember that? Was brilliant. It's brilliant. Okay, because it's so true.
Yeah, so true. Yeah. And I mean, this very suffocating herd mentality, obviously it can't last, because as you both allude to, everything will get worse before it gets better, and there will be a breaking point, of course. It can't last.
Well, what we could, if we see a Biden administration, and I take the views of some of these powerful Democrats and donors seriously, they will pack the court. They will get rid of the Electoral College. They will give Puerto Rico and DC statehood. All of those topics are worthy of discussion. I don't dismiss it out of hand. But what I'm saying is that you have to remember why we had these things, to avoid the tyranny of the majority, okay? And that's something that the left, because of so much of our political history, they were in the minority, and I rooted for them, okay, for workers' rights, for civil rights. All of these things were good things, okay? But you don't want to have the tyranny of the majority here, and we have to be very careful about it, because it's, Trump is going to get like 60 million votes, okay? It probably won't be enough in the Electoral College to make him president. But you still have a significant part of the country that's going to be very alienated here. You can't, if the Democrats come to power and ram these things through, it's only going to make it far, far worse, okay? Because people are not going to feel like they're part of a greater whole. And that has been always the great mission, and it's been very, very hard for America to get that. And they've had moments of unity and moments of lack of unity. We're in one of those periods now. But if there's this perception that you have all forms of government, the checks and balance of the court disappears, then you're going to have half the country and say, why am I here? What is my role? Because they're not talking to me.
Yeah, well, Helen, I'm going to ask you a final question, and that will be, what do you think, if you can answer, is going to make the United States united?
I think they're going to need somebody. The one thing that I noticed, I went to a few of the early Black Lives Matter protests just because I was curious. What is this? Why are so many people coming out? What are the ideas? The person with the loudest voice will get the crowd to do anything. So what the US needs is some people with very loud voices to spread these messages of, hey, the political class is completely divorced from any of your interests. These people want to asset strip everything that's not nailed down and leave you with nothing, and leave you in the street with your hands empty and just the clothes on your back. And if people can express those ideas in a way that connects with these huge amounts of disenfranchised people, I mean, it actually might unite them. But
why don't we have Tulsi Gabbard? It's have Tulsi Gabbard is a leader of the third party.
She kind of disappointed me when she threw her hat in the ring with Biden. I can't really.
There's something afoot there. She broke my heart.
I don't trust her. I don't trust her.
But you know, there's a person there who should be given a megaphone. Okay. One day we'll find out about the shenanigans. Obama called everybody after Super Tuesday.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Okay.
But it's just like if Tulsi is already like persona non grata in the Democratic Party because she talked to Assad. How dare you? Everybody needs to talk to their own personal Assads, really.
Ciara, can I end on a very depressing note?
Yeah.
Just think about it. We got 30 years of Obama's pontificating still ahead of us.
Oh no.
Well, on that note, Peter, thanks for that. I'll finish this episode, and thanks so much, Helen, for joining us. It's been a joy.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks to you, Peter, as well. And we will see you next time.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Don't forget to like, share, and please subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Thanks.